Good morning, everyone. Hope we're doing all right. So, today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be taking a quick wee look into design elements and principles. So, obviously, no, most of you might not know what they are. So, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to have a wee look at what design elements and principles are. So, first off, we have design elements and then we have design principles. So, design elements. Design elements have an impact on how a piece of work is viewed, completed, and are present in design regardless of skill, taste, and style. So, key points to remember about design elements: they have an impact on how a piece of work is viewed or looked at and or completed, and are present in design regardless of skill, and then you can go on to talk about taste or style as well. So design elements are always present in your design. You may just not know that you're using design elements. Design principles. Design principles are rules, guidelines, biases, and design considerations which designers apply to their work. So principles are different rules and choices, I guess you could say, for biases that designers would use to their work. So it's different techniques that we can use, or design principles, different techniques we can use to make a better design. So design principles are rules and guidelines or biases, and designers apply these rules, guidelines, and biases to their work. So let's go on to take a wee further look at design elements. So there's a lot of different design elements and principles, but you aren't required to learn all of them. So all we're going to do is we're going to take a look at two design elements, and then afterwards we're going to go on to take a look at two design principles. So as you can see here, what we have is we have shape and color. So first of all, we'll have a wee look at shape. So we've got a couple different shapes there, and of course we have color. We've got the color wheel right here. So if we have a look at the shapes first, nothing too special about them. Nice, easy, simple 2D shapes. We have a square, triangle, circle, and a hexagon. Now these can be used throughout our designs. They can be used as the shapes for images. They could be used to hold pieces of text in them. Maybe they could be used as bullet points. Shapes have many different uses in design. Let's see, colour. Obviously, we should all know roughly what the colour wheel is. We should know about our primary and secondary colours at least. Colour is a design element because obviously, unless you're working in black and white, your design is going to end up using some colour in it. So it's one of these elements that designers use, but they may not realise that they're using it, or well, designers would realise, but you guys might not realise that you're actually using design elements whenever you draw shapes or colours. Right. Moving on, so continuing on to this page, we're going to take a wee further look at some different shapes, as well as looking at the colour wheel in a wee bit of detail. So what we have here is we have primary colours, we have secondary colours, and we have tertiary colours. So if we take a quick wee look here, we'll see we have our primary colours in front of us, and what we've got is the primary colours are represented by each of these different shapes. So we take a look, we have a red square, so obviously that's a square, and red is one of our primary colours. Next primary colour is yellow, and we have a circle there. And next we have a blue triangle. So our three primary colours are red, yellow and blue, and what we have is we've also got the names of the different geometric shapes that we have. Next, moving on to secondary. Now, very important, how is it we would make a secondary colour? First of all, to get green, we would add yellow and blue together to then make green. To make orange, we would add yellow and red together to make that. And then to make purple, we would add blue and red. So a secondary colour is basically two primary colours mixed together. So two primary colours make a secondary colour. So we'll go on to see the shapes and which colours they are. So we have green first of all, and that shape there is a diamond. We have orange, and we have an orange parallelogram. And last we have a purple pentagon. So moving on to our tertiary colours now. So if we remember before, two primaries equals a secondary, how would we end up making a tertiary colour? So these are our tertiary colours here. So if two primaries equal a secondary, not two secondaries equal a tertiary, but a primary plus a secondary would equal a tertiary colour. So if we have a look, what we have for the first one, we have a trapezoid is our shape, and the colour we have there is actually red purple. So we don't give a brand new name to the colours that we're creating here. All we're doing is we're adding a primary and a secondary. So I've added my primary red and my secondary purple. So what I've got is I've got a red purple trapezoid. So that red purple is that colour right there. Next one across, we have a blue purple hexagon. So we've combined our blue with our purple. Next one across, we've combined our blue with our green to get a blue green, and that's an octagon right there. Got a nice oval for our yellow green colour. We have yellow orange, and that's a heptagon there, so that's a 7-sided shape. And red orange for our decagon, and decagon is a 10-sided shape. There we go. So looking at our colour wheel again, if we remember what we were talking about, we have our primary colours in the centre. Red plus yellow equals a secondary orange. Then red plus blue equals a secondary purple. Yellow plus blue equals a secondary green. Then we can start to fill in our tertiary colours around the outside of this shape. See, we've got our primary red leading up here, we have our secondary purple leading into there, and then in between both of those we have our tertiary red purple. So the way that I like to remember it is I like to put primary colours in front of secondary colours. So this colour here is in between red and purple. Red's a primary, purple's a secondary, so I'm going to call this colour red purple. This one here is in between purple, this one here is in between purple and in between blue. So blue's a primary, purple's a secondary, so this would be my blue purple. Again, going across, we have secondary green, primary blue. This colour here would be blue green. Across we have primary yellow, secondary green, yellow green, yellow orange, and then back to red again, so that would be a red orange. So what we have on the colour wheel is we have a way of separating our two different colour groups. Now our two different colour groups are, first of all, our warm colours. So these are obviously colours that you might associate with a bright sunny day, nice warm fire possibly. So that's our reds, our oranges and our yellows that we associate with warm colours. And as you can see, that's highlighted there, that small bracket. And as we swap to the next set, if we've guessed, we've got warm colours. On the opposite side, we have our cold colours. So these are our purples and our blues, kind of gives us the feeling of coldness. So we have hot colours and we have cold colours. Now, moving on to another slide, going on to colour. So, a lot of colour theory here, not so much shape, but we managed to touch on it a little bit. So, what we have is we have different colours and they can convey different types of emotions. So, for example, if I bring up the colour red here, if we think of any emotions that we could relate to the colour red, so if we think, what colour are our Valentine's Day cards on Valentine's Day? Oh, coming up soon as well. So red is the main colour of Valentine's Day cards because you've got tons of love hearts. So one thing we could say is an emotion related to the colour red would be love or passion. But at the same time, we could also say that red could mean anger or danger. You know, if you see red, you might be a bit fuming. Or you might see some bright red safety signs about the workshop whenever we manage to get back in. So, emotions related to red would be anger, love, obviously warmth, it's a nice warm colour, as well as danger, so red's a bit mixed. Looking at yellow now, what we have a nice happy colour. The emotion related to it could be excitement, or you could be energetic, so it's a nice bright colour. Moving on to blue now. Obviously blue's a cold colour, so we could say that it makes you feel cold. It's a nice relaxing colour though, but at the same time it also could convey sadness as well. So, moving on to our secondary colours now. We have green, which is a nice energetic colour. When we think of green, we think of nature as well, all the trees and leaves. We also think of safety. Again, if we were in the workshop, we would see some nice bright health and safety signs. And of course, nice green apples, healthy food, healthy veg. We have the feeling of healthiness coming from our green. On to orange now. We have the feeling of warmth again, yep. Warm could also convey excitement as well as enthusiasm. And last, what we have is we have our purple, and purple could give off the emotion of mystery, creativity, or royalty. Now, we don't have emotions related to our tertiary colours, mainly because they are a mix of a primary and a secondary colour. So if you imagine if you had your blue purple, I guess you could say that an emotion related to that colour could be either of the different emotions related to blue or purple. So for blue we had sadness, and for purple on the screen you can see we have royalty, so I'd say that blue purple could give off the emotion of either sadness or royalty. So you're just mixing the different types of emotions if it's a tertiary colour, so that's why we're only going to go over the primary and secondary colours. Now, what we have here is we have a small task for you to do. So for the design element task, we have sketch 5 different geometric shapes using primary colours. If you do not have colour pencils, you can practice this in you can practice your tonal scale instead. So what I'm wanting you to do is I'm wanting you to go back and have a wee look at the slide with all the different shapes on it. And what I would like you to do is I'd like you to sketch 5 of those shapes of your choice. Make sure they're all different. Then I would like you to fill them in with only primary colours. Now, like I said, if you don't have any colour pencils at your disposal, don't worry. What you can do is you can go in and you can practice using your tonal scale. So I've asked you to sketch 5 different geometric shapes. So I would like to see a light tone, a tone after that, a middle tone, a tone after that, and then a dark tone. So if we remember our 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 different tones for our 5 different geometric shapes. If you have colours, perfect, you can go in and you can colour them in our primary colours. After that, I'd also like you to do the exact same for sketch 5 different geometric shapes. This time you're wanting to use secondary colours. Sketch 5 different geometric shapes using tertiary colours. So at the end of this, you should have 15 different geometric shapes, and I would like 5 of them to be coloured in with primary colours, 5 of them with secondary colours, and 5 of them with tertiary colours. And remember, if you don't have a coloured pencil, you can practice the tonal scale. So, after that, we have a couple questions for you to do. So, what you can do now is you can actually go and pause this PowerPoint and go and do this task. And if not, you can stick with me till the end and then go and do both of the tasks. So, continuing on, now we're going to start looking at design principles. So, next, as I said, we've looked over 2 design elements. We're going to look over 2 design principles now. So design principles we're going to look over are contrast. So there's a nice example of contrast there. And alignment. So there's an example of alignment. So contrast is a little bit of colour theory as well. So as you can see here, we have nice black text on a white background, and we also have white text on a black background. Now, the reason that I can see that text very well on the screen, I can read that perfectly fine, is because black contrasts with the white background and white contrasts with the black background, which means that these words stick out on the screen and we can see them well. So we'll go in and we'll take a wee look into that in a second. What we also have is we have alignment. So as you can see, we've got the word alignment nicely aligned to fit into a small corner of the page. So alignment, as you can tell, is just the way that things are aligned. If you have nice and neat alignment on a design, then genuinely it's going to end up looking better than if you throw sketches all over a page. So, moving on, we have our contrasting and we have our harmonizing. So, contrasting and harmonizing are 2 different things. So first of all, we're going to be taking a wee look at contrasting. So what I've got here is I have a red cube, or rectangle rather, and I've also got a blue rectangle underneath it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece of text in here. So if we have a look, we have a green colour and a green text and a red background. So the reason that we can see that green colour is because green contrasts with red. So the way that we can figure this out is if we actually look back to the colour wheel, any colour that is at the opposite side of the colour wheel from one another genuinely contrasts with each other. So if we remember, red is at the top of the colour wheel and green is all the way at the bottom, so those 2 colours contrast with each other. Now for blue, we have a nice kind of yellowy orange. So yellow and orange is at the opposite side of the colour wheel to blue, so that would contrast with blue, and that's how we can see that text standing out. Just the exact same as obviously black text on a white background, black's dark, white is light, so it's going to contrast between them. Now, moving on to our harmonising colours, this is a little bit different. So instead I've got a green and a yellow rectangle this time. So we put in there, don't know if you'll be able to see that, but we have harmonising written in there. Let's see, right in there. So harmonising colours, as you can tell, don't contrast well, they do the opposite, they actually blend in. So if we get the other one up as well, you can maybe see that a little bit too. So these are colours that are next to each other in the colour wheel. These are colours that will blend together nicely. So what we have is we have a green rectangle and we have yellow-green text, so two colours right next to each other in the colour wheel, and we have a yellow box as well as a yellow-orange piece of text here. So those two harmonise with one another and these two contrast with one another. So contrasting, opposite sides of the colour wheel, and harmonising is colours next to each other on the colour wheel. Moving on, so now I know you've already seen this slide before, but it's going to be used for the next explanation. But before we go on to that, I'd just like to bring your attention just over to the colour wheel quickly. If we remember, our primary red will contrast with our secondary green, which is at the opposite side of the colour wheel. So if we have our tertiary orange, the colour that would contrast with that would be our tertiary purple. So that's our blue purple, and our yellow orange would contrast with each other. Same with purple would contrast with our yellow nicely. So that's how that would work, as well as our tertiary yellow-orange would harmonise well with our primary yellow as well as our secondary orange. Our blue-purple would harmonise well with our secondary purple as well as our primary blue. So whatever colour's next to it harmonises, and whatever colour's the opposite side of the colour wheel, then it's contrasting. So the reason why we have this slide back up again is because we're going to talk a little bit about alignment. So alignment is used in almost every publication, and you might not even realise what's actually being used. So if we take a wee look at this page here, what we have is we actually have a lot of different aligned images and pieces of text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the next animation, and what it's going to show you is it's going to show you how everything is aligned. So I've used dashed lines to show you all the different alignment on this page right now. So if we take a wee look here, we'll get the pen tool out to follow this. You can see that these pieces of text up at the top are aligned right next to each other and follow this line here. So the edge right here and the edge right here line up with each other on this page. So they are aligned that way. Now, two pieces of text up here. We have shape and we also have colour. Now, these two shapes are aligned through the middle of each shape, sits level with the middle, or not each shape rather, each piece of text. The middle of each piece of text matches the exact same line that the other piece of text on. So they are aligned horizontally, and this one up here is aligned vertically. We also have another vertical horizontal. Now if we imagine this is just one image, it's just an image of four different shapes, so this would also have a small box around it. So as we can see, we've got a line running all the way through the middle of that and through the middle of this colour wheel, so they are aligned through the centre point of each other. And lastly, we also have a middle point going through the middle of each piece of text, and then again through the middle of these shapes right here. So I'll not bother drawing that one in, but you get the point. Obviously it goes straight down and straight through the middle of this shape. So that is how this page is all aligned. I'll do a quick wee rub out tool so we can have a wee look just at the black dotted lines again. There we go, couple extra. That one, and that one. So this is how our page is aligned. We've got a couple vertical and we also have a couple horizontal. Now we're going to go over another couple pages that we have seen before as well. Now that's because there's some good representation of alignment as well on these pages. So again, we'll bring up the dotted lines. Now, as you can see, across on the left-hand side, we'll go over all of our vertical alignments first. We have a nice vertical alignment coming up from the top piece of text all the way down past our primary, secondary and tertiary colours. So they are all aligned together vertically, as well as the centre of each of our shapes, as well as our small pieces of description text. We come all the way down here. All of these shapes and pieces of text are aligned vertically with each other, as well as these ones and these ones. I'm not going to bring those lines all the way down. And last, our horizontal alignment. We have across the page through primary, through the middle of that, through the middle of our arrow, through the middle of our shapes and text. So that's our alignment vertically, as well as all the way down here as well, and down for tertiary too. So that's the alignment used on that page. Next page, again, we have our last slide that we were looking at for our contrasting and harmonizing colours. This page, nice and simple. We've got another couple verticals as well as another couple horizontals. So our verticals coming straight down through contrasting, through that piece of text and the box, as well as that piece of text and the box too. Obviously, exact same for the other side. And we also have our alignment coming straight through the boxes vertically, or horizontally rather. Straight through that, through the text as well, and all the way across. Actually, one thing I forgot to add in, just looking at this right now, we would also have alignment through the top pieces of text right there. So I'm just going to add that in, just some small dashes. This would be our last piece of horizontal alignment because our two headings are aligned and sit on the same level as one in each other. Just finish that off there. There we go. So that's our last wee piece of alignment right there. Okay, so as the last task for this presentation, what I want you to do is I would like you to align 4 geometric shapes together in a way of your choice. So remember, you can align them horizontally, you can align them vertically, you can even do a little bit of both. So all of the shapes should be coloured in with colours that contrast with each other. So I would like you to colour in each of the 4 shapes with colours that contrast well with each other. So you can have a wee think about that. I'm sure we can all end up picking different colours. And again, if you don't have a colour pencils, what you can do is you can just have wee practice of your tonal scale. I understand not everyone will have access to these, so if you just make do with your regular pencil. And last off, we have a couple different questions to answer for that. So hopefully that was informative, and hopefully you all have a good understanding of a couple basic design elements and principles. Okie doke.